We're looking at a worksheet called Page Setup Sheet and we want to print this worksheet. On the Page Layout tab in the ribbon, you'll notice that one of the groups is called Page Setup. In the lower right-hand corner, a dialog box launcher button. If we click it, activates this dialog box, called Page Setup, and there are many different settings here. One group is on the tab page, another on the margins tab, another on the header footer, and another on sheet. Although, you might have seen some of these choices in the Page Layout tab in the ribbon, and you might even have seen these on the File tab, here they're all together. And if you have used Excel in prior versions, this is familiar territory as well. So, let's consider some of the options here, but let's first break out of this, press Cancel or Escape, and let's indicate what it is we want to print. So one approach to printing begins with let's select the data. If for example here in this list, if you say, I don't want column N, but I do want all this data here, if you simply want to select all this data ahead of time, you can press Ctrl+A and then on the Page Layout tab, go to Print Area, set Print Area. If you want to get a preview of this, we can simply click this button. If you've added this button called the Print Preview button, which we did in a prior movie, you can simply get the preview on the right, and by clicking in here, dragging that outer scroll bar on the right-hand side downward, we'll see approximately how many pages we're about to print. We can scroll up and down. While you're on this page, notice off to the left, at the bottom, you see a choice called Page Setup. Click that. This is the dialog box that we just saw. Recognize again, some of the features here are also being presented off to the left. For example, if we're looking at Page Setup here, the Page tab gives us a choice for Portrait and Landscape. We see the same choices over here. So one of the issues we confront as we work with printing is the fact that a lot of these settings appear in multiple locations. Let's press Escape here, and also escape from this view, and shift our focus again to the data that we're about to print. And as we look at the Page Layout tab again, click within this Page Setup group, the dialog box launcher right there to activate some of these choices. Without going through all of these, just recognize that we do have choices as we mentioned earlier on Portrait or Landscape. There could be times too when you want to fit this printout to a different number of pages. Could we fit this to 1 page wide by 10 pages tall? Well, let's try that. Either click the arrows or type in a 10, something like that, and make a choice that way. Let's get right into Print Preview and see how this looks. Maybe not so good. Let's escape and come right back in here, doing the same thing all over again, but this time maybe just ignore this choice. Let's say we do want to fit it to a number of pages. We click back on Adjust to, and again, somewhat arbitrarily make this an 80. Print Preview. See how that's looking? Maybe that looks better. So you want to experiment a little bit here. Can we try this again, going back here with 100? Right within the same dialog box, Print Preview, and there we are again. We could end our Page Setup from here. It's over on the left-hand side at the bottom, and consider some of the options. Now once again, I'm not going through all these. Do recognize here you can center the data horizontally, left to right. Maybe that's what you want to do. You've got control over the margins here. Is an inch of white space on top and bottom too much? Maybe click the drop arrows that way. Maybe it'll take up fewer pages. Similarly on the right, something like that. Again, lots of choices here. Maybe less space for the header top and bottom. We can also go into header or footer this way. Make some changes. You can create your own custom header. There are some built-in choices here. Some use dates, some use file names, various combinations in here, quite a few choices. And so you can get to some of the fine-tuning tools available when you want to print. Also, there's a Sheet tab here. Do you want to see the grid lines? Probably. Do you want to see the row and column headings? These are here. Now once again, recognize, if we click OK, and we've made that choice, watch the preview change in the background here. We now have column letters and row numbers, and that certainly is appropriate for some kinds of data and not necessarily this. Recognize too, if we escape and go back into the worksheet environment, a lot of the choices that we make here with Page Setup, from the dialog box here, are already here under Page Layout in the ribbon. So, this idea of, where do we go when we print and where do we make our settings? The Page Setup dialog box is certainly handy, but a lot of these choices are right here. Maybe we don't want the grid lines, we could uncheck it here. By the way, if you uncheck the grid lines here, it actually changes the current worksheet view as well. If we jump back into our preview, we won't see grid lines there either. And the row and column headings, we can also control those right here too. Let's not print them. And then let's go back to our preview, and now we don't see the row and column headings. So, any number of choices you can make here by way of page setup, clicking the dialog box launcher here and using the feature this way. Or once again on the File tab from the ribbon. Going to print and making choices here by way of page setup. There are lots of ways to control the way our printout is going to appear by way of page setup.